Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. With the price of just about everything going up during inflation, we thought we'd bring our prices down. So to help us, we brought in a reverse auctioneer, which is apparently a thing.
Mint Mobile Unlimited Premium Wireless. How to get 30, 30, how to get 30, how to get 20, 20, 20, how to get 20, 20, how to get 15, 15, 15, 15, just $15 a month? Sold!
Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
$45 up front for 3 months plus taxes and fees. Promo rate for new customers for limited time. Unlimited more than 40 gigabytes per month. Slows full terms at mintmobile.com.
Think you know the Brooks Ghost? Think again. Introducing the all-new, better-than-ever Ghost 16. Now with nitrogen-infused cushioning for lightweight, supreme softness that feels good every step, every street, every single day. So go ahead, take your daily joyride in the all-new nitrogen-infused Ghost 16. It'll turn your everyday miles into everyday endorphins. Let's run there. Head to brooksrunning.com to learn more.
Meg, when was the last time you felt really strong?
Oh gosh, so this is a really long time ago now. But I think it was when I was doing roller derby because, you know, you're working out 2 to 4 times a week and you're using that strength in an activity. You're seeing it on display, basically. But I haven't been doing anything that has been working those same muscles, literally and figuratively. So it's been a real long while.
Welcome to How To. I'm Courtney Martin. If you're a regular listener, welcome back. And if you're new to the show, let me tell you what we do. Each week, listeners tell us their goals, and we find the perfect person to guide them on their journey. Today, we're headed to the gym to pump iron, to find our inner strength, and of course, get those sweet, sweet gains. Just a heads up that we're going to talk about disordered eating and body image issues during this conversation, so please do take care of yourself. Now, let's meet our listener.
I'm Meg. I live in Brooklyn, New York. I reached out to How To because I've been interested in kind of embarking on strength training for a bunch of years now. I'm not a naturally sporty person, but strength training has always appealed to me. And I know that it started to come into the zeitgeist. And I got really excited thinking like, oh, now there's going to be beginner programs for women for weightlifting. I can finally find a way in.
Meg is right. People who don't fit the traditional athletic stereotype have been getting into lifting. For women specifically, this is a pretty stark departure from the last few decades of fitness culture.
Now shoulders, 1, 2, really stretch it up.
Move your boogie body, come on and shake those hips. Move that boogie body, yeah!
Don't get me wrong, those programs, especially in-person classes, were and are a source of community, a way into exercise for generations of women sidelined from formal fitness training. At the same time, these classes tended to prioritize getting thin over building serious functional muscle. Today, more people, especially women of a certain age, like little old me, are hearing that they need to start doing weight-bearing exercise. But when it comes to strength training, it's really hard to know where to start.
Every time I find a program, it goes from like the very ground level basics straight up to a lot of terminology I cannot follow and do not understand.
Oh my gosh, I would say there are so many people who have not figured this out, including myself. So I think this is going to be so helpful to so many people. So thank you for writing in. What kind of exercise do you do now, and what kind of exercise have you done in the past?
Well, part of the reason that I wrote in about this now is because I've been pretty sedentary lately. I can feel my body losing mobility, losing, elasticity, all the good stuff that we want to keep going with us. Long ago, I would just do the general light cardio at the gym. Turns out I hate cardio, so I don't stick with that very much. I've also done cycling for a bit. I did kickboxing for a long time, and then the school that I loved closed down, and then I had a problem finding another school that wasn't very bro-y. I did roller derby for a bunch of years, and
Ooh,
that was the thing that I most enjoyed in terms of a physical activity where you got to use your strength and develop that. Nothing has sort of similarly hit that spot.
Did you have a roller derby persona?
I did.
Tell us.
My name is Penny Larceny, and This was, I think, about 20 years ago now. When the league first started in New York, I was one of the first group of women who started it. So they're much more athletic and much more sporty and much more professional than when we started it for Mischief. But it's a really great workout.
Oh my gosh, that is so cool. I think we need to do a second hour on roller derby at some point because I want to know so much more about that. Why weightlifting and why now?
The feeling of being strong is such a great feeling.
Yes.
And the feeling of being able to like take care of things because you have that strength, right? Whether it's like hauling groceries up to my 4th floor apartment or knowing that like, you can, you're not trying to get in a fight or anything, but like definitely that
Speak for yourself, Meg, speak for yourself.
But definitely that you can just kind of like you're existing in the world in a position of feeling very strong and feeling like your body can do what you need it to do at any point in time. And that's what's always been really appealing to me. And I'm not interested in participating in the just tone and define your body culture that is often targeted to women.
So let's forget about aiming for an ideal body type. That's the thing with strength training. Everybody can do it, no matter your body size or the amount you're lifting or the reason you started down this path in the first place. Really, it doesn't matter. You can do it. But knowing where to start can be tricky.
I haven't even gotten to the point of attempting going to the weight area at the gym. Like I'll go to the gym, I'll use some of the machines, I'll see that there are more women in the weight area. And in my head, I'll be like, yeah, that's awesome. But I will not go over there myself. So and a lot of that has to do with just kind of feeling like, well, I'm going to go over there and I don't know what I should be doing.
I'm over here like beaming because I'm jotting down things you say. They resonate so much with me and my own experience.
Meet today's expert.
My name is Mikala Jamison. I am a writer and an editor, and I am the author of a Substack called Body Type, which is all about the current culture around all things bodies: fitness, nutrition, weight, body image, things under that umbrella. And I'm also someone who lifts weights.
Now, Mikala isn't a doctor or a certified personal trainer, but she does know exactly how Meg is feeling. In fact, she was Meg like a decade ago. And she's here to help us break through the fitness noise and figure out a simple plan to get us going. We'll start right after the break. This episode is brought to you by Defender. For those who embrace the impossible, the Defender 110 is up for the adventure. This iconic vehicle has been redefined with thoroughly modern design. The exterior is reimagined with compelling proportions and precise detailing, and the interior is built with robust materials and integrity. The Defender capability is legendary, whether you're facing off-road challenges or harsh weather conditions. Built for the modern explorer, the Defender 110 lets you go further and do more. And cargo capacity means more room for your gear. Innovative camera technologies deliver unobstructed views and effortless maneuvering. Ready for a wide range of adventures, the Defender family features the two-door Defender 90, the Defender 110, and the Defender 130, which seats up to 8. A vehicle made to go further, the Defender 110. Learn more at LandRoverUSA.com/Defender. This episode is brought to you by Defender. For those who embrace the impossible, the Defender 110 is up for the adventure. This iconic vehicle has been redefined with thoroughly modern design. The exterior is reimagined with compelling proportions and precise detailing, and the interior is built with robust materials and integrity. The Defender capability is legendary, whether you're facing off-road challenges or harsh weather conditions. Built for the modern explorer, the Defender 110 lets you go further and do more. And cargo capacity means more room for your gear. Innovative camera technologies deliver unobstructed views and effortless maneuvering. Ready for a wide range of adventures, the Defender family features the two-door Defender 90, the Defender 110, and the Defender 130, which seats up to 8. A vehicle made to go further, the Defender 110. Learn more at LandRoverUSA.com/Defender. Mikala's first brush with the beauty of strength was as a surly teenage daughter at Gold's Gym.
My mom was really the first woman that I saw be confident in a strength training space. She took me to a Gold's Gym one time, and seeing her hold her own next to these giant dudes that were weightlifting, and, she's all 5'2" of her, whatever. That kind of stuck with me.
I have to pause you there, Mikala, because I am obsessed with this. Yeah. What is your mom's name?
My mom's name is Carmela, Cammy for short.
Oh my gosh.
She rides a Harley Davidson. She has tattoos. Yeah, she's a character.
Okay, I'm really into her. What did Carmela teach you about strength, Mikala, writ large?
I think really what she was showing me, without maybe even knowing she was showing it to me, was just confidence. And Meg spoke a little bit about that feeling that I certainly have had, that I know a lot of people have, which is the weightlifting area at the gym feels scary, full of giant dudes sometimes. It's historically been a very male-dominated space. People can have all kinds of attitudes. But there is something that I'm sure we'll talk about together today that really helped me, which was, how do I just get over that fear and feel like I belong in this space? So I think my mom demonstrated that to me, and just seeing a woman doing that. I mean, this was probably in like 2003 or something. That it just, strength training for women was not where it is now. So seeing that model was really, really helpful. And later it made me feel like being a woman in the weights area, like hopefully if other women saw it, like maybe that's helpful too. Because when I see other women there, I feel like, okay, it's not just me.
Carmela. Oh my gosh, what a star. No spoilers, but you might hear her at the end of the show. So, some things have changed since she was lifting at Gold's Gym in the early aughts, but still, for a lot of us, it can be hard to envision ourselves following in her footsteps. But Meg has a head start. Here's Mikala.
I really relate to a lot of what you say, Meg, because you have this experience with roller derby and feeling really empowered in this kind of, strength and this badass, like using your body not to just diminish yourself and become smaller, but feel like you are tapping into that physical strength and that kind of inner strength. And so, like, your attitude about this, I just, as somebody who's been lifting weights for 10 years, I'm kind of sitting here like, oh yeah, she's ready. Like, she's going to be great at this when she gets started.
Yay. I love that. I did want to ask you, Mikala, I feel a little bit like a dum-dum here, but are weightlifting and strength training the same thing?
Not a dum-dum question at all. If we're talking about kind of the everyday person who just wants to go to the gym and start doing stuff, people will say weightlifting, like, yeah, I'm going to go lift some weights. Technically, there is a sport of weightlifting, which is in fact an Olympic sport. There's Olympic weightlifting. Those are two specific movements. One is called the clean and jerk, and one is called the snatch. And those are actually the weightlifting movements that CrossFit brought into its programming. So if you've ever seen, people doing CrossFit, you might have seen those. There's also powerlifting, which I'm going to talk a little bit about here since I've been involved with that myself. And that is also a competitive sport or just method of training that involves the back squat, the deadlift, and the bench press. But if you are just kind of a person going to the gym, I want to kind of frame this as strength training, because there's a lot of different things that we can talk about here that aren't necessarily like the sport of weightlifting. But in everyday purposes, people just say, yeah, I lift weights. I'm a weightlifter.
Okay. So Meg, we're not putting this past you. You might be cleaning and jerking and being an Olympian. I don't know where this is going to lead.
I love the distinction, because in the same way that somebody would be doing, go for runs themselves, but they wouldn't be like a marathoner. It really is nice to have that distinction between like the things you want to do for your everyday life versus like, I want to get to a certain build. I want to get to a certain weight for competition or whatever.
Right. Right. So you want to do strength training?
Yes.
So now we got all that terminology cleared up, it's time to actually find out how Mikala got started with her own strength training.
I had for years been dealing with an eating disorder. I had binge eating disorder. I would have, just to cope with a lot of anxiety I wasn't managing, I would just have these clandestine binges, and I just was really kind of abusing myself with food. And I started going to therapy for that. And I had been living in this, wanting to lose weight and nothing more space for so long. That was, a huge part of the culture then, as it still is in some ways, but, even more so. And in talking about what I wanted to do with my body, I was saying kind of what Meg said, like, I want to feel my body again. I want to feel good in it. I want to feel strong. Like the word feel instead of look was very important to me. And so I remembered that moment with my mom, those series of moments of her talking about strength training. And I remember not hating this.
With that seed planted, Mikala decided she needed to prepare.
This was about 2014, and I bought a book, and everybody's going to hate the title of the book, but stay with me. It is by a guy named Mike Matthews, and it is called Thinner, Leaner, Stronger. So I know, we hate it. But I've recommended this book to so many people with this caveat because this book just spells it out so plainly. And like, I am someone who like failed math classes and got A's in English classes. Like, I don't want the math. I don't want the overcomplications. The back half of the book is about how to do the squat, the deadlift, the bench press, and the shoulder press, which some people call the military press. This felt so simple and accessible to me because, like what you were saying earlier, Meg, about activities of daily life, you have to bend over and pick things up. You have to squat down. You have to push things away from you, put things over your head. These movements felt so natural to me and felt like I was doing something that was really giving me strength returns very quickly.
For Mikala, this preparation stage was key. Yes, it's an investment up front, but it will pay off.
So taking it back to this analog place of reading a book, those hours I put into it and watching YouTube videos and stuff, it made me feel so prepared, but it also made me feel like I was taking it more seriously.
Meg, you kind of ran into a dead end with the preparation that Mikala's describing, right? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I've signed up for, bought whatever, like 3 different properties of here's the basics you need to start doing this. And there's a point, I mean, Mikala, you said something about, excelling in English and not in math. And that's, same over here. So there's a point where I'm like, okay, this is great. I understand the mechanics. And I'm also a very big person about getting the mechanics of stuff right. Like there is a fear about getting hurt. But going through all of these, it's like, okay, here are the basics. Here's how you do it. Here are the mechanics. And then I feel like everyone I've looked at then makes this giant jump to the math of things and the terminology of things that I just get immediately lost. And it feels overwhelming.
Okay, so if math and planning are overwhelming to you, you can hire a personal trainer. It can be costly, but someone gives you a plan and makes sure your alignment is on point. You can also absolutely do this on your own. Mikala suggests focusing on the first 8 weeks because by 2 months, you'll feel and see changes if you're consistent. And that's the thing, consistency isn't every day. In fact, for beginners, 3 days a week is a sweet spot to ensure you're building muscle, giving your body the rest it needs, and creating a sustainable habit. The key word here, sustainable.
I didn't even have the confidence to think I would do this for like 6 months, a year, whatever. I just picked 2 months, habit change, that seems reasonable. Let me just go for it. And so doing that, like reading this book, watching the videos, learning stuff, I didn't have to really do anything except learn how to do the movements. And I'm telling you, I watched videos and I also would send videos of myself, let's say trying to learn how to do a back squat. I would put a broomstick on my back, like it was a barbell in my kitchen, record a video of it. And there were Facebook groups I joined that had people give me feedback on my form. There are Reddit groups that do that. There's all kinds of internet places where you can get feedback on your form, if you don't have a trainer or a buddy. But the buddy thing too, I think is a big part of this. And so I would love to hear what Meg, you have to say about if there is someone you can do this with or just kind of have as a supportive presence, because that can be, it's an accountability thing, but it also, if you have a friend that's a little bit more involved in weightlifting, it's really helpful to feel like you have somebody who's kind of watching your back or with you in this. So do you feel like you have someone like that?
I don't, but it's really funny that you said that because a friend's daughter recently got into strength training, and she's a college student, and she had exactly that. She had a friend who was like, oh, come to the gym with me. I'll show you how to do all of these. And I was talking to my friend about this question for how to, and I said, oh, if only somebody would just give us a friend like that to the gym, we'd be all set. I was like, where's mine?
Right. And I mean, I think that one of the great things about the current moment that I did not have in 2014 or whatever it was, is that some of these programs that can get very complicated and it's not the thing that you want, they also have like online groups where people are doing this supportive stuff for each other.
Okay.
One of the programs that I really like is a woman called Meg Squats. And so she has a program called Stronger by the Day.
Okay.
I really like that program because number one, in her app, they're like GIFs. They're videos of how to do the movement. So as you are standing in the gym and it's programmed, whatever it's programmed, there's a video of it, which for me was always the most helpful thing. Like, just show me somebody doing it so I can see what it looks like. Yeah. And she has groups where people are talking about stuff, form checks, things like that.
That's a great idea. And I'm realizing that in my head, I was sort of thinking of these online groups as like, well, these are people who already know how to do this. And they're all just talking about, and never once thinking like, this is your entry point.
Yeah. And that's so interesting what you say, Meg, about feeling like you already have to be at a certain point, or the people in these spaces already are at a certain point. Mm-hmm. And I used to feel the same way. And it is not true at all. I think a lot of us are walking around just having kind of this fear and thinking everyone else gets it and we don't get it. And I think part of that comes from you're interested in this stuff. So, you're looking at it online, you're trying different things, you're maybe looking at social media stuff about strength training or whatever. So you might be coming across a lot of content that is showing you people who are good at it, right? So it's this kind of, you're selecting the stuff that reinforces this idea. But just having done this for years now, there are not a lot of people I know who aren't my like gym people that happen to be good at this. Most people do not know how to do this stuff because frankly, we don't really have the education in our culture. It's a very cardio-focused culture, right? So most people just don't know. So you definitely are not alone in that.
That is heartening.
One thing I'm consistently surprised by is that people who are more advanced at skills like this, actually really enjoy helping people for free. Like you were saying, Mikala, of posting a video or reaching out, that they may actually be more advanced, but strangely, people really like helping each other for free on the internet, right?
Yes. I feel like sometimes I've walked around the gym like wishing other women there would ask me questions or like let's be pals here. And I mean, it can be a very like solitary experience to go lift, and that's okay. Sometimes we have to get into our own space and our own flow. But I have had moments where other women have asked me questions in the gym, and like, I love this stuff. This is the stuff I like to nerd out about. That's why I'm here. So I think that people will be much more generous and friendly about it than maybe you expect. And I get why you feel the way you do. Exercise culture, if that's what we want to call it, can feel very, people think that they're superior, or there's that gym bro sensibility. It feels very like kind of an elite thing. I get all of that. I think I just entered into my strength training experience feeling like I just don't care. Like I'm just going to be here. Like I'm going to be the gym bro, whatever. I'm just going to make it work for myself. Like truly, like I'm the gym bro now.
All right, now that we're all certified gym bros, we're going to take a quick rest before we come back and crush our last set. And by that, I obviously just mean we're going to make an actual training plan. Stay with us. This episode is brought to you by ZBiotics. There's now a game-changing product to use before a night out with drinks. It's called ZBiotics. Let's face it, after a night with drinks, it's tough to bounce back the next day. You have to make a choice. You can either have a great night or a great next day. ZBiotics is a surefire way to wake up feeling fresh after a night of drinking. ZBiotics pre-alcohol probiotic drink is the world's first genetically engineered probiotic. It was invented by PhD scientists to tackle rough mornings after drinking. Here's how it works. When you drink, alcohol gets converted into a toxic byproduct in the gut. It's this byproduct, not dehydration, that's to blame for your rough next day. ZBiotics produces an enzyme to break this byproduct down. Just remember to make ZBiotics your first drink of the night, then drink responsibly, and you'll feel your best tomorrow. Go to zbiotics.com/howto to get 15% off your first order when you use howto at checkout. ZBiotics is backed with a 100% money-back guarantee, so if you're unsatisfied for any reason, they'll refund your money, no questions asked. Remember to head to zbiotics.com/howto and use the code howto at checkout for 15% off. Have you heard of the term nuclear family? It was actually coined by an anthropologist in the 1920s to describe the family structure of a straight, married couple and their kids. Well, now over a century later, only about 18% of Americans actually live in a family by that definition. That means that over 82% of Americans represent a different kind of family. From This Is Actually Happening comes the 82%. Modern Stories of Love and Family, a special 6-part series focused on those who have broken away from the norm and challenged society's notions of what a family can be. From an asexual educator and activist raising a child with 2 other co-parents to a gay man in the clergy who chose the path of celibacy and created a unique family unit with his straight best friend. Each episode offers an intimate first-person perspective from those whose family lives have taken different shapes. To listen to the 82% series, follow This Is Actually Happening on the Wondery app or wherever you get your podcasts. You can listen to This Is Actually Happening ad-free on Wondery Plus. Get 3% daily cash back when you use Apple Card to buy a new iPhone 15 or a pair of AirPods at Apple. You can choose to grow it at 4.4% annual percentage yield when you open a savings account through Apple Card. Apply for Apple Card in the Wallet app on iPhone. Subject to credit approval, savings is available to Apple Card owners subject to eligibility. Savings in Apple Card by Goldman Sachs Bank USA, Salt Lake City branch. Member FDIC. Terms and more at applecard.com. Okay, we're back with Meg, who wants to start lifting, and Mikala Jamison, author of the Substack Body Type. Now we get into the nitty-gritty stuff, like, do you have to start out in a weight room?
You don't necessarily have to go to a gym. If you are, a beginner, like 101 level, and it sounds like, Meg, you have some athleticism in your past. So it's not like you've never exercised in your life before, but getting into strength training after having not done it, in that 2 months, let's say, there are so many things that you can do to start from home. And really what we're talking about when we talk about getting stronger is a term called progressive overload, which I don't want to be throwing all kinds of gym bro terms around, but all that means is you are just increasing the demand on your muscles and then they are adapting to it. That's just how you get stronger.
Okay, so that means steadily increasing how heavy the weight is and how many reps you do. Essentially keeping the tension on your muscles longer, which is how you get stronger. So let's say you do 3 rounds of 10 squats. You're using 20-pound weights, and by the end of the set, you feel pretty fatigued. The next time you do squats, maybe you do 3 rounds of 11, or you do it with 25-pound weights. It's all about slowly pushing yourself in order to do more.
So if you're at home, that means maybe you buy a set of weights that are in a set of dumbbells, that are in little increments of increasing weights, or you hold an object in your hand, something semi-heavy, or put a backpack on full of books or whatever, and do squats like that, and then you put more books in it. I mean, we can get really creative here. So the short answer is no, you do not have to start full steam ahead, trainer, gym, expensive membership. You don't have to. I will say that over time, if you really want to stick with this and really see like big gains in strength later, you probably do have to join a gym at some point because unless you have a fabulous home gym, in which case I want to come over, if you don't have like a ton of weights, like you're going to run into the fact that like you're too strong for your stuff now at some point.
Okay, that's really helpful. And then you said 3 times a week. How much time do you think people need to carve out?
I don't think there's any reason to do a strength training session for more than an hour. I think that a solid hour warm up, go through your sets. You don't have to be spending 2 or 3 hours in the gym. I think carve an hour out of your day is totally fine.
I'm getting so into the power of 3s because it's just really helping my brain, Meg. I don't know if this is working for you, but we have the 3 times a week. We have, let's say, just 3 exercises, 3 movements. What 3 movements should we start with?
I think that doing the squat, you could hold weights in front of you and squat. You could do a front squat, like just squat. I always think about it this way. If you look at like a toddler, how they bend down to pick stuff up, they have a perfect squat. Like they know what to do. Our bodies are capable of this movement and we kind of lose it because we sit and because we don't train it and all these things. So squat, and then the deadlift, which is the hinging at the hips. That's one of the kind of main functional movement patterns that's great for our bodies, and the bench press or the shoulder press. You could choose either of those if you like. So the reason those 3 I think are really helpful is because they're what we call compound movements versus like a bicep curl where you're just using one muscle to lift the dumbbell. Those 3 exercises are really efficient and great at building strength because you use a lot of your muscle groups at the same time.
Okay. And then a very selfish question, except Meg, you did say you were doing yoga. Yoga doesn't count, Mikala?
Well, what do you mean doesn't count?
Like when I hear strength training and I hear 3 hours a week, I'm like, wow, that's a lot of time. And I already do yoga. So I'm like, do I really have to do this?
Okay. I get what you're saying. So my kind of main thesis for everything as someone who likes to work out is like all workouts count, all movements count. I do yoga myself. So in addition to strength training, I think yoga is awesome because you need to get that stiffness and that, muscle, accumulation stretched out somehow.
Yeah.
But if we're talking about strength, like, yes, of course, if you are committed to a yoga program, like you're going to get stronger at doing your inversions or holding your planks and things like that. It just depends on what you want to get stronger for. So I think, Meg, I guess I should have asked this question from the beginning. Are you looking to get stronger at a particular thing, or do you really just want to feel functionally strong overall? Like what kind of is a goal for you, no matter how nebulous at this point?
I would like to feel functionally strong overall and be one of those ladies who walks down the street with visible, arm muscles. And I would also like to say to Courtney, I love yoga. That is one of the things that I find is, holistically just, very, very great. But actually part of the strength training too is I want to double down on getting stronger overall so that I can do longer yoga classes that do more complicated things for the flexibility of it. And then also, do strength training just to really get just overall more powerful in what I'm doing than I feel like that I can do right now with the type of low-key yoga I'm doing.
Gotcha. Like I said, everything is good and everything is a good workout and is going to help you in some way or another. But when we talk about efficiency and training those functional movements like Meg was talking about, it does not get much more efficient than using a progressive overload plan to put more resistance on your body, right? So if you were going to say, okay, I'm going to do 50 body weight squats every day for 2 months, great. But you're going to get a lot stronger when you add resistance to that movement, right? So yoga is tremendous for so many things, but if you really want to put on more muscle more quickly and feel those functional, adaptations to different movements throughout your day, like the squat, the hinge at the hips that is involved in the deadlift, things like that, it's really, you have to do strength training with resistance, with some weight, because that is how your body adapts to the weight and thus gets stronger more quickly.
Now, I feel like the 3 of us are no longer drinking the like shitty body shaming Kool-Aid that is so common in our culture, but probably a lot of our listeners still are. So I just want to spend one beat on this because Mikala, I have heard women say, well, I know I'm supposed to strength train because it's healthy for me, especially at midlife, but I really don't want to quote unquote bulk up. Can you say a little something about that piece of this? Because I feel like your writing is so clear on this.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think if women are freaked out that they're going to start strength training and suddenly look like Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson and they don't want to look like that, then they don't have anything to worry about. That's not going to happen. It actually takes a tremendous amount of dedication, the correct diet, the correct protein, for a lot of people, the correct steroids to get that big. And most women, like, we simply don't have the capabilities to get that big like many guys can. So this idea that you're suddenly going to Hulk out, I mean, there are bodybuilders who wish that was the case. So that's not going to happen. But if the question is kind of like, how does, your size and shape come into play here? I can say that if someone is interested in changing the way that their body looks, strength training and weightlifting is very efficient for that. But it also depends on what you eat and 1,000 other things, right? If you are just interested in getting stronger and you do not care to be involved with any kind of cutting body fat or changing your size or losing weight or any of that, you don't have to think about any of it. You have to still be eating. You have to be like nourishing your body. I mean, that was a big thing that came into play for me as I was recovering from disordered eating was, if I'm going to be lifting weights, I need to be eating enough food. That is literally how your muscles grow. So you got to get on the protein train. The thing that's great about strength training is, like, you have to eat. So it's kind of an awesome exercise as somebody like me that came from diet culture world for so long and everything was 2 hours on the elliptical and 6 almonds a day or whatever. Strength training is not that. It's no, you need to get your macronutrients and eat enough food to make yourself stronger. So for me, it really helped my relationship with eating because it kind of taught me how to, it's so bro-y, but it really is like the food is fuel kind of thing. And I don't mean that in a diet culture way. I mean that in like truly a beautiful, like loving towards your own body way. Like you have to eat. So that really helped me.
Whenever there's anything that I have to do with like tracking food or anything like that, it sends me off in a way that it gives me food issues instead of my normal life.
I totally get it. And I think the kind of thesis statement here is like, if you ever got to a point where you really if you wanted to compete, or if you wanted to like make huge strength gains, or if you wanted to change something with your body composition, like whatever, that is when, yes, you could dive more into like, maybe I need to eat in a different way or get more protein or whatever. But sometimes it's like, we're putting the cart before the horse, right? Like, let's just start. And it's so easy to overcomplicate when we start. Like, if you just kind of get moving in more ways than you are now, that's all you have to do for 2 months. You know what I mean? That's why it's like sometimes you don't even need all this stuff. Like, you can just Google a couple questions and like go hit the gym with your 3 movements. Because once you let all that other stuff in, it's overwhelm. That's like why you stop. Because you're like, I can't with all this. And you really do not have to, especially at the beginning.
That is so freeing.
I love that. That's so great. Okay, Meg, so we've got 3 times a week, hour at a time, going to the gym. How are you feeling? Like, are you already like, this sounds great in theory, but
no,
it's just too hard?
I mean, it sounds great in theory, but also in practice. This conversation has sort of been helpful in pointing out that there is a lot of community and resources around that I had thought were behind a gate, but that community is the gate, and that I was thinking about this as a thing that has to be sort of figured out before it can be embarked upon. And I think keeping it really simple and just saying, I'm going to do this 3 times a week and I'm going to do these, 4 things, and I can look at the resources that I've already found or go to the book that Mikala has suggested and get those exercises and then just do that for 2 months. I think that's base level simple that I was looking for that I feel like I was not being able to find or not recognizing out in the world.
Yeah, exactly. And like I said before, it's weird. I don't know what guiding force was involved here, but I really did not set a ton of specific goals or numbers or anything for myself when I got involved in this. I just felt so disconnected from my body, like I wanted to move, like I wanted to feel powerful. And I just walked into a Planet Fitness and was like, all right, I'm going to do these 4 things and let's see what happens. And then not having a ton of expectations and not having a ton of like, just crazy messages in my head, it just allowed things to unfold in a really natural way. And that's kind of what kept me going because it just clicked. It just felt like, oh, this is easy.
And it sounds more fun too. So there's that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, exactly.
Well, I was just thinking, Meg, like what allowed you to keep going back to roller derby during that season of your life?
Oh, it was because it was completely just mischievous fun. There weren't any stakes. We were starting out on it. So it wasn't like later now where there's tryouts and all of this stuff and people take it very seriously, which is amazing. But there was a sense of just kind of whimsy and fun, and you get to see your friends, and then you get to do something that makes you feel like a very powerful person in the world,
Yeah, and it just makes me think of like, Mikala, I'm guessing, and I'd actually love to hear about one of them if you have one in mind, that your strength training has led you to some friendships with some pretty unusual suspects. Like, one of the cool things about a gym is that it's this weird coming together of people who don't share anything professionally, who may not share a lot demographically, and all of a sudden you're like lifting together and learning about each other. Like, that's delightful to me. Like, that would keep me coming back to a gym. Have you had like an amazing, unusual suspect friendship, Mikala?
Yeah, I mean, I have like a cast of characters just dancing through my mind right now. I mean, gym people are a very particular sort. And it actually isn't what I thought it was. Like, I thought people just went to the gym because if they were women, they were trying to lose weight. And if they were guys, they were trying to beef up. And once I got involved in these spaces, there's people like that, sure. But there are so many people who I really believe are there for community, for helping themselves through something, for just kind of wanting to tap into like proving that they can do something after feeling beat down for a while. I mean, there's so many reasons people go. And when I did my powerlifting meet, that day was incredible because it was one of the first times I felt like I could look around and think, oh, what my body looks like, or the size of my body, or whether my thighs touch, or whether I have abs and all this crap that I had internalized my whole life. None of that stuff mattered. It was, are you strong and are you ready to try? Like, have you trained for whatever strong means to you today? And are you ready to try? And if so, everyone's going to be on your feet cheering for you. And it was people of all body types and sizes and shapes and ages. And like, that is the gym community. That is the part of the fitness culture that has changed my life and introduced me to so many cool people. And so that's kind of why I sing the praises of like, it's not just toxic gym bro stuff. Like, there's some really cool stuff going on here. And you absolutely can be a part of that. Like, no one should feel like they're excluded from that because they're not already an expert that looks like The Rock,
Thank you both so much. This has been such a wonderful, delightful, and I think extremely practical conversation. So I'm excited about all the women out there who are going to be doing their squats in our spirits.
Me too. Thank you so much. Thanks for the question, Meg. I loved talking to you about this.
Thank you for the wonderful conversation and the great ideas and answers here.
And by the way, do you remember Carmilla, Mikala's badass lifting mom? Well, she has a special surprise story for us.
So I'm Courtney Jamison, Mikala Jamison's mom. I have been what we call a gym rat most of my life. So I'm 64 now, and about 10 years ago, one of my very close girlfriends called me and said, listen, I know I've asked you a million times to help me get motivated to get in shape and go to the gym and do all the things I've watched you do our whole lives. And I know you always stick to everything so diligently. And I said to her, I'd be glad to, but, I do want to tell you that I am not that person that doesn't, fall off the wagon. I sometimes, go a week or 2 weeks without working out. So Wednesday morning came and I saw Debbie pull up, but she wasn't in her normal vehicle that I know. She was in this little sports car with the top down. And I was like, what the heck? I run out and I'm like, what? Hey, what? And she goes, I rented a sports car today. Well, I didn't really rent it. I went and did a test drive and they told me I could keep it for the day. So I decided that this would be a really good day for us to do a road trip and go down by the water and have happy hour and get in. And so I looked at her and then I looked back at the gym and I said, wait a minute. And I ran into the gym, grabbed my gym bag, jumped in the car, which was a little Miata, and we were gone for the day. And so the whole time that we were having lunch and laughing and talking, I was saying to her, see, this proves to you that I'm not perfect either. I totally can be convinced to avoid a workout and go do something else fun, but that doesn't mean that it's forever. And we can try it again next week. It was just a really cool way to introduce somebody into the gym world without them freaking out, thinking they had to be, a big muscle head and stick to it 100% and be perfect. So that is my story, but we still laugh about it today, how I didn't even ask one question. I just went and grabbed my gym bag and took off with it for the day.
Oh my gosh, I love that. Shout out to all the friends who are helping each other get their butts to the gym as they have dreamed about. Do you have a dream that needs a little lift? Send us a note at howto@slate.com or leave us a voicemail at 646-495-4001. We just might have you on the show. And if you like what you heard today, please give us a rating and a review and tell a friend. That helps us help more people. How To is produced by Rosemary Belson with Kevin Bendis. Joel Meyer is senior editor and Derek John is executive producer. Merritt Jacob is senior technical director and composed our theme music. Charles Duhigg created the show. Carvel Wallace is my co-host. And I'm Courtney Martin. Thanks for listening.